It comes down to this defensive stop. Dinwiddie scores! 8 seconds. Carson. Gordon, 3 seconds. Evan Gordon to the bucket. Layup. Good! Arizona State wins at the buzzer.
And Eric Musselman joins us now, ASU assistant basketball coach, for a couple of minutes. When you have a play like that, how is it you can automatically turn to go shake the coach's hand on the losing team without jumping up and down, getting excited?
That's a great question, Brad. It was actually the first time this year that I wasn't in the coaching handshake line, because I went right and joined the players and jumping up and down on top of Gordon. So, but you know, it's obviously a game that either team could have won or lost, and it's a tough one to stomach if you're Colorado, because when Dinwiddie makes that layup with about 8 seconds to go, everybody in the building felt like they had secured the victory. And the thing that was really impressive is Jahi Carson is so used to having the ball in his hands late game situations. He made a great read because Colorado sloughed off of Gordon for half a second and kind of stunted on Jahi's dribble drive, and he kicked it over to Gordon and then kind of opened up a sea of right to the rim for him to attack the glass. And Jahi very easily, as a freshman, could have forced and taken a difficult shot. He gave the ball up, and that's a sign of a player who's developing not only physically but more importantly mentally.
ASU assistant coach Eric Musselman. So let me get this straight. You went and jumped into the pile like one of the students.
I was right there with the 17 to 21-year-olds acting the same age as them. There's no question about it.
You weren't taunting the crowd, were you? You weren't that guy.
I didn't go that far, but thought about it.
Yeah. I received a note earlier from Kyle Dodd who said it was the workout partner in Colorado that got you over the top.
That's true. We had a great pregame lift, Kyle and I did.
See, you had a couple days, too, and coming off the loss at Utah, in all seriousness, I thought, Eric, that Jahi had hit a bit of a wall before the Colorado game. The last few games didn't look as fresh as what I'd seen, and actually the whole team didn't look as fresh as what I'd seen, which is natural during the course of a college season.
You know, Brad, the really, really interesting part about all that is we have gone very, very light in practice. And because the guys are playing a lot of minutes, like Carrick and Jahi and John Gilling, those three guys have played a lot of minutes. So we've actually, up until after the Utah game, we had been doing basically no contact and only really going about 60 to 70 minutes. We couldn't really go any lighter than what we had gone. And after the Utah game, you know, we met as a coaching staff and felt like, you know what, we've gone pretty easy on these guys. We've talked about resting legs. Mm-hmm. And after the Utah game, we had our two most physical practices of the year. And we went harder than we had probably all season long the 2 days leading up to the Colorado game. So we took a different approach after we lost in Utah. And I think it really helped change the mentality of our players going into the Colorado game, because we had spirited, very, very physical practices, especially the day before the Colorado game.
We talking about guys getting after each other in those spirited practices?
Yeah, it was physical. We set more screens than we had. Guys were diving on the floor for loose balls, and we practiced for 2 days like a desperate team, and that's what we were after losing in Utah. Yeah,
there's no question about it. Eric Musselman with us. So on Wednesday night at home, Washington State, this Saturday night at home against Washington, final chance for fans to see the Sun Devils in action at home before they go on the road for the rest of the season. Tell me about the idea of switching your lineup, bringing Evan Gordon off the bench and starting Chris Colvin, and what that was all about.
Well, Brad, first of all, you know, because we lost at Utah and we had had the same lineup all year, we had discussed it, you know, prior to the Utah game. And then when you're kind of wrestling with that idea, and then you add in the fact that there was a loss, and then to add to the conversation was Dinwiddie's one of the top players in the nation for his position. He's a tall, strong point guard. And we felt like in game one, when Colorado played at our place, Chris Colvin actually started the second half of the game against Colorado. Mm-hmm. And so we felt like going into the game, from a defensive standpoint, Chris Colvin gave us the best chance to try to contain Spencer Dinwiddie. And then to add on to that is we've also felt like, you know what, we got to get a little bit more scoring off the bench. And we felt like Evan, who is a scoring combo guard, you know, would really, really help us because he could give Jahi or Colvin a break coming in because he can play both positions. So it really, really worked out to our advantage, you know, for several different reasons, and matchups, for the fact that we were coming off the loss and wanted to kind of have somewhat of a jolt or a shock factor with our team. And so it worked out good.
ASU assistant coach Eric Musselman with us. So we're in agreement on this. I think I'm always one of those guys, hey, it doesn't matter who starts. It matters who finishes. If you're one of those that's out on the floor at the end of the game, then you're doing everything that's right. And some guys can't accept well, I'm not starting. I don't get all the introduction. I don't get my face up on TV. You know, all that nonsense that goes along with being a starter. And it sounds like Evan Gordon has accepted this role.
No, he has. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in the right mental frame to play one of his better games. And he knocked down some really, really crucial three balls. And that's the hard part of a guy is doing what's best for the team and putting your individual self, secondary. And obviously, he did that by, you can talk a good game, but your actions speak louder than words. And the way that he came out and produced spoke to the fact that, hey, you know what? I've accepted this thing. I'm going to go out, do the best that I can. And no player wants to come off the bench, but if you embrace a role, sometimes it can work out to your advantage. And like I said, for Evan, I felt like he was more at ease. You can get a feel for the game. And there's been a lot of teams, whether it's collegiately or NBA-wise, that, you know what, guys like Mark Averoni that used to start for the Sixers and kind of buy some minutes and some fouls early, those type of things actually can end up helping a team over the course of a 40-minute game.
Okay, I'm curious on your end. So you take this college job as an assistant. I had you on last time. We went through the whole resume and how you've been the head coach in the NBA in a couple of stops. You've coached and were coach of the year over in the D-League. What do you make out of this whole college experience for you and how this has worked out?
I mean, it's been great for me, Brad. I've learned so much, and I feel lucky to work for Coach Sendek. And every day, to me, I'm getting an opportunity to learn. It is a different game, and the baseline out of bounds is so important at the collegiate game, and at the NBA level, the side out of bounds, both offensively and defensively, is much more of a factor than it is collegiately. And the recruiting aspect of it, I'm learning every day. And the amount of time that you've got to spend with players off the floor, just talking to them and trying to let them know what to look for during the course of the game, all that stuff has been really fun for me to try to improve as a coach. And I feel like I'm working with great guys, and it's been a great year for us so far, and we can't wait for these 2 home games coming up, and then we head out on the road for the final 3, so hopefully we can continue with some momentum in these 2 games against Washington State and Washington.
You guys in the tournament today or out of the tournament? That's a big question I get from fans, and I say I don't know because I'm taking the show to L.A. next week because I think it is a huge week. Then we're going to be in Tucson, and then we're taking the show to the Pac-12 tournament. Bottom line is, there's so much season left, but if it were today, do you think you're in?
I mean, I think that you hit the nail on the head, Brad. It's way too early to, like Coach Sendek, he doesn't read or listen to anything.
Really?
Yeah, he really does not. I read and listen to everything. So from what everyone, when the experts are saying as of today, we would be in. But having said that, you said it. I mean, there's 5 games to play. Teams like the Cal Bears have 3 home games and only 2 road games, and we only have 2 home and 3 away. So there's so many factors that go into this, and I think the one thing that we've all learned about the Pac-12 this year is anybody can beat anybody on any given night. And Utah, who's sitting at 11-14 overall and 3-10 in the conference, they could have beaten Arizona this week, followed up by the win that they had against us. So none of these games are gimmies at all. Washington State played Oregon phenomenal the other night. So you have your work cut out for you every single night. And then when you add in the fact that, not only these guys playing basketball, but they have schoolwork involved, and there's so many factors that go into a college basketball game. At the NBA, I mean, everybody's kind of in the same boat. It's basketball 24 hours a day. And at this level, you got to make sure your team's in the right mental frame.
I'll see you over in Los Angeles. I'd love to have you come by. I'll be doing the show down in the lobby around you guys for the whole week, so we'll see you out there.
Sounds good, Brad. I would love to join you again. I appreciate you having me on.
You got it, Eric. Stay well.
Bye-bye.
It's Eric Musselman.